Good day, Indiana. Welcome back to another week of IUP-TV News, broadcast from Davis Hall. My name is Sean Meller.
And my name is Tyler Como. Today we bring you stories that are relevant to IUP in the Indiana community. We'll begin with local news. Over 100 members of the IUP community attended an open forum on Friday, October 25th with Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education Chancellor Dan Greenstein. The Chancellor provided an update on the system redesign, including highlighting the strength of each individual university. The Chancellor also stressed the importance of staying on top of information about the state system redesign through the system website and newsletter.
The Haven Project, an organization here at IUP that helps students struggle with domestic violence, holds the Silent Witness display. This display is available for October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. A silent witness is a silhouette with a true story of an adult or child that was killed by domestic violence.
California issued a state of emergency after wildfires were raging across the state. More than 200,000 people evacuated their homes after strong winds carried the fires close to residential areas. Those who did not have to evacuate had problems of power outages and poor air quality.
Police charge man in connection to shooting in Greenville, Texas. The police are charging Brandon Gonzalez in the connection to the incident that left 2 dead and 14 injured. While the motive for the shooting is still unknown, the police believe the man was only targeting one person.
The European Union has granted the United Kingdom another delay to the Brexit deal. This delay was granted days before the deal's deadline on October 31st. The United Kingdom asked for more time to fully prepare the deal. The new deadline is scheduled for 3 months after the initial deadline.
An 11-year-old girl was charged for stabbing elementary school teacher in Australia. The 56-year-old teacher was taken to the hospital after receiving non-lethal stab wounds. Police rushed to the school and were forced to use a stun gun to subdue the student. The student will appear at Children's Court at a later date and will face charges on wounding, possession of a knife in school, and threatening violence.
This is IUP-TV News.
Women suffragists have contributed in history through fighting for the rights to vote. However, the portrayal of the struggle and people's understanding of hardship are different. IUP celebrated the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage last week by discussing how these portrayals have changed over the years. Reporter Eric Ganley has the story.
On Wednesday, October 23rd, Dr. Ricketts, a history professor here at IUP, hosted an event celebrating and recalling the portrayal of women suffragettes in 1919. I had a chance to sit down with Dr. Ricketts to discuss further about the women's suffrage movement 100 years later, and how women's suffrage had changed the lives of women over the years.
Once we started to have women in the legislature, and there were some at the very beginning, but we are seeing more and more women. We have a pretty big freshman class this year, female freshman class this year in the federal Congress. So I think we may start to see some changes as women gain power, and I think women have realized that we really have to have women in the legislature before we can make a lot of change.
One question kept arriving, though. Who 100 years ago had disapproved of women's suffrage, and why? One of the biggest factors was the industrialists of the time.
They were very much afraid that there would be a wave of child labor laws, of workplace laws to make safer workplaces, that you would have restrictions on hours in the day, that there would be a lot of there was already growing concern about the conditions under which women worked, and if they could indeed work in those conditions and bear healthy children and raise healthy children. So this was one of the big women's issues that women were pushing.
The success of the movement was also due to the help of the way the women presented themselves when protesting.
The women in the suffrage movement decided that they were going to make themselves extremely presentable, so that when they were out on the street having a march or standing with signs, nobody was going to look at them and say, look at those trashy women, look at them, these are not real women.
Different colors meant different things in this movement. Suffragettes wore white, purple, and gold. These colors represented something to the movement. White stood for purity, purple stood for loyalty, and gold represented suffragettes' movement in Kansas. with colors resembling Kansas sunflowers.
This ended up being like a mass of women who promoted honesty, uprightness, Christian values, virtue, coming down the street asking for the vote. So, for example, when Shirley Chisholm became the first black woman in Congress, she wore white. She wore a very stark white outfit when she first went to Congress.
Now, 100 years later, women have the right to vote, but are still fighting for equal rights. This is Eric Ganley, IUP-TV News.
To celebrate diversity of culture in IUP, the International Education Office held International Education Week, when they invited students and faculties to meet and enjoy international drinks and cuisine. Taylor Jones has the story.
Coffee and tea is a combination that people would have in their day, like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and some people do it before they go to bed. So it's usually like 5 times a day thing.
Asking questions on how people drink their tea might not be common here in the U.S. However, in different parts of the world, tea has its own culture. There are over 6.5 billion people on this earth. More than 1.5 billion alone drinks tea. Tea is one form of drink, besides coffee, to connect among these different societies, cultures, and social groups.
Yeah, well, it actually does a really good job reminding me, like recalling all my childhood memories, because where I come from, Egypt, we used to have a specific time for tea every day from 6 to 7. So we used to just sit down, drink tea with my parents, and that's it. So yeah, it really helps recall a lot of childhood memories.
With different cultures throughout the world, tea is often enjoyed with many diverse foods. Adira Ayuyu-Vadi described his experience from various countries.
The food was very nice, actually tasted from different countries. I like the Egyptian food, I like the Kenyan food. I also tasted a bit of the, I think, Russian food, but different spices, different tastes, You tend to want to move from here to there because you prefer this more than that, but generally it was very nice.
The International Education Office offered this flavor of culture through the International Tea Program, where tea, coffee, and snacks were provided. Students can walk around to taste the food and drink, as well as get to know the Study Abroad program. For many students, studying abroad gives them a chance to learn and adapt to a different culture.
I think from a third perspective, like not traveling abroad before, you kind of have this Americanized sense of what their culture is like. And so when you actually get to travel to another country, it's kind of like uncovering the truth behind these things that you've always been told like all your life, like the way certain things are. And it's just very transformative, I think.
This is Taylor Jones reporting for IUP-TV News.
Reporter Kaylon Thomas also had a chance to talk to a few other visitors who came to Kennywood for the night full of fun.
Over the weekend, IUP students took a trip to Kennywood. Imani Robertson, student from IUP, says she is a frequent visitor of amusement parks, but coming to Kennywood for the Phantom Fright Night was something completely new for her.
Never been to Kennywood before.
I asked Imani, what did she expect from coming to Kennywood?
I expected to be scared.
For the people who weren't so easily scared, Kennywood offered various rides, games, and food that would make them thrilled and fulfilled. I also asked Imani why did she decide to come to Kennywood.
I came because Static organized the trip here.
Coming to Kennywood for the Phantom Fright Night with Static is an annual event here at IUP. This is actually the 18th year Static has hosted this event. Coming to Kennywood for the Phantom Fright Night is a great way to still enjoy all the Halloween scares and festivities, all while being in an amusement park at night. This is Karan Thomas, reporting for IUP-TV News.
Photography is one of the major elements that the students find interest in within the Communications Media Department. This department provides the students with access to our photography studio to gain more knowledge. Our reporter, Kayla Ensko, has the story.
With photography being an interest within the Communications Media Department, a photography studio and printing labs are now open for IUP students. Located in Stouffer Hall, the photography studio is full of professional equipment. Because of the professional lights, many backdrops to choose from, and a computer available with editing software including Lightroom and Photoshop, IUP students have showcased many beautiful pictures for class projects and portfolios. Some of them work alone, while others work together with Student Photography Association members.
It's really been really beneficial in learning just the techniques of photography and learning how to work with models and work with other people and assist people, and it's just been really helpful and a lot of fun actually, which I wasn't expecting.
The printing lab located in Davis Hall is also available for students. This is also a great facility for editing with multiple computers and another room for creating photos.
I would say using the photography lab for printing out photos would definitely have helped us in the way of learning how to edit a little bit more, so that way it's not as blown out whenever it's printed out. And I think it's just cool to learn how to work with Photoshop a little bit more, because we use Lightroom. But whenever we're printing, we have to upload it to Photoshop to have it printed out, as well as just the fact that it's really cool that we can print out our work and show it off and not have to keep it on a computer. It's not a red room by any means, you're not, or black room, can't remember the exact name of it, but it's not an old school photography lab, but it sort of brings it back to that. So I think that was pretty cool of them to do.
These projects students created, for example, can be submitted and shown off on the walls of Stouffer Hall.
To get them displayed in Stouffer Hall, it's not really, let's say, a process. It's more they choose photos that other students have liked and that they like themselves. And they change every year. I mean, every year new students take great photos and then they're put up and displayed for everybody else to see.
This is Kayla Ensko reporting for IUP-TV News.
IUP shut out Gannon University 35-0 during the last home game. IUP is now ranked number 4th regionally. Elliot Hicks has the game recap.
The IUP Crimson Hawks football team earned a big boost in its hopes to reach the postseason following an impressive 35-0 shutout victory over the Gannon Golden Knights. IUP scored 5 touchdowns in the contest, and you're about to see all of them. The Crimson Hawks scored on both of their first 2 drives on offense, with Dwayne Brown extending his streak of games with a touchdown catch right away. He has scored in every single game this season for IUP.
Running back, and we'll have to see if he made the catch there. A very athletic play, and it will be a touchdown.
On the next drive, Kayshaw Carter doubled the IUP lead on this 28-yard touchdown catch.
Maxwell takes the snap. They're going to throw the ball again. Looking for the end zone, and he's got Kayshaw Carter easily. The Crimson Hawks score another touchdown. Get ready for that cannon as Kayshaw Carter gets the receiving touchdown after being subbed on.
IUP scored a pair of touchdowns in the second quarter as well, the first coming on his pick six.
Looking to throw, and it's going to be intercepted by Damon Lloyd. Lloyd's got some room to run. He is going to take it to the house. The IUP Crimson Hawks and Damon Lloyd. Lloyd will take it back on a pick 6, and the Crimson Hawks now have a 3-score lead here at Miller Stadium.
That was all too easy, Elliott. Lloyd was lurking right in the middle of the field. He was watching the quarterback's eyes the entire time. He threw it right at him.
JoJo Gauze then became the 3rd wide receiver with a touchdown catch on the day to put IUP up 28-0. And the last touchdown of the day was scored by fullback Ryan Langdon, who rumbled in near the goal line to set the final score.
2-yard touchdown run, and here we go. There's the cannon fire as IUP takes a 34-0 lead.
For IUP-TV News, I'm Elliot Hicks.
This past weekend, senior Damon Lloyd was the player of the game with a pick six and 3 solo tackles. Mackenzie Ocker has a story.
This past weekend, IUP played Gannon, and it was the annual Make-A-Wish game. 5-year-old Dane was alongside Damon Lloyd for the coin toss for his wish. Although it was a cold, rainy day, it didn't stop fans and students from coming or the Crimson Hawks as they shut out Gannon 35-0. I had the opportunity to interview senior linebacker Damon Lloyd, who was our player of the game.
I'm here with Damon Lloyd, who is our player of the game, where you had that incredible 6-pick play, and you've had 3 sacks in your solo career. What are your thoughts on today's game with the weather going against Gannon?
I personally believe we could have did way better. They ran the ball on us and was a little successful there, but end of the day, we could have performed better, and when we get in the film room on Monday, we'll figure out our mistakes and do better there.
What is the plan to keep your amazing momentum going for the rest of your senior year?
As a team, we just got to keep doing what we're doing. Every week depends on how we perform. It's never up to who we're going against, it's up to us. So we got to keep improving every week as we do. We preach it every day. We got to get 1% better.
Thanks, Damon, and congratulations on your on today's win. This has been Mackenzie Ocker reporting for IUP-TV Sports.
Next home football game is IUP's senior night against Edinburgh University. Tristan Borland shows a preview of what seniors will be showcased at the last home game of the season. Here's the story.
As the regular season winds down for the Crimson Hawks, a positive vibe resonates from the team. Playoffs may be on the mindset of all players, but now is a great time to think about how IUP got here in the first place. Some would say that it is due to the talents of the household names such as Dwayne Brown, but I would argue that it is from the leadership of the senior class. Do not get me wrong, talent is great for a team, but some veteran guidance is always found on good teams. With the senior game just being on the horizon, let's look back on the season and see why it's so important to have well-rounded seniors to anchor your team. If you followed IUP through the season, you will know that the Crimson Hawks have a dominant defense. Slipper Rock is the only team to score more than 24 points on IUP in a single game, and there are 2 games this season where the opposing team was shut out. This is due to the fact that IUP has talented veterans at every level of the defense. The first level, the defensive line, has a dynamic playmaker, DeAndre Tillman. Tillman is a giant man who seems to dominate with a bull rush that cannot be stopped by most linemen. The linebacking core of IUP is just as deadly, with truly terrifying players such as Nick Amendola and Damon Lloyd. Both not only physically dominant, but the biggest X factor these linebackers bring to the game is intelligence. They do not get tricked often and read the backfield like a book. The secondary is another level of the stifling defense that cannot be overlooked. With Shaq Jones, the secondary is a comfortable mixture of secure hands and dropping the hammer. It is safe to assume that IUP's senior class are the reason why the Crimson Hawks defense was so great this season. To complement such an amazing defense, many seniors on the offense are key to why IUP is so electric so often. The running back star Samir Bullock was near perfect on the ground this year for the Hawks, making sure that the team was not too one-dimensional. Being a smaller back meant that Bullock had to be more elusive, and man was he ever. Running is not IUP's bread and butter though. That is because IUP has unparalleled depth at quarterback and an explosive receiving core. With a jaw-dropping player like Dwayne Walls, there's no lack of talent for the 2 quarterbacks that IUP has. The speed and strength of Walls is why IUP is more well known for its huge downfield pass plays rather than conservative running. Another reason IUP loves more flashy downfield plays is due to their highly skilled quarterbacks. A graduating senior quarterback that needs no introduction is Jalen Reese, who is perfect for IUP whenever they need someone to shut the door on their opponents late in the game. He is a lot like a very talented closing pitcher, because without a good backup to your starting quarterback, they will have to do everything by themselves, and this would kill most college quarterbacks. So IUP is very happy that Jalen Reese is on their team. With all these players putting their heart and soul into the team that they all love, I imagine that we will see emotion come out during the final home game this season with Edinburgh coming here to Miller Stadium. Whatever the outcome is, I'm sure that all the recently mentioned seniors will be greatly missed after that game.
Receiving a Jefferson Award for public service was an honor I will always cherish. I've known since I was very young that I wanted to help make a difference, but I didn't create an organization to win an award. I did it because as a teacher, I believe all kids deserve a good start and a shot at high achievement. I'm April King, a graduate of Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Get my story at IUP.edu.
I fell in love with the campus, with the people, with my IUP life. See it for yourself. Visit us. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Find your success.
The Blairsville Area Underground Railroad received an extremely rare artifact this Saturday. The artifact is a pair of pinstriped pants, believed to be an authentic piece of the clothing once worn by a slave. A Civil War era collector and history teacher at Bell Vernon High School donated the piece to the museum since the museum had assisted his students before the National History Day projects.
Indiana is having its annual wine walk on November 1st. At this year's wine walk, guests will receive a free stemless wine glass and will be entered into a raffle. The walk will serve as a fundraiser for downtown Indiana. Tickets are only $25 and will start at the Coney.
Plans are beginning to come together for the It's a Wonderful Life Festival in downtown Indiana. The 5-week festival begins the Friday after Thanksgiving, so plans are already being set for the tree lighting, a parade, and the week-long showings of Jimmy Stewart's It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's broadcast. Be sure to check in with us next week for all news stories. Reporting for IUP-TV, my name is Sean Meller.
And my name is Tyler Como. We'll see you next week, Indiana.